says, yes, in fact, I also used to be in the same situation, and Allah blessed me. So you see this valley full of all these animals? Take whatever you want. Take whatever you want. And the angel says that Allah is pleased, I've been sent as a test, and Allah is pleased with you and displeased with your companions. Now we understand, again, the obvious lesson of generosity and gratitude and things like this. But try to understand what would make someone, having come from nothing to achieving so much, and then to just completely neglect and shun the fact that Allah blessed them. To know that this came out of nowhere and to still say that I earned this out of my own hard work. And I have nothing to spare for you. I have the equivalent of millions of dollars, and I can't give you $10 to get a bus ride to finish your journey. Right? That's the equivalent of what's happening here. And what's happening is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains to us in an ayah, this is actually a very intricate trick of shaitan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, "Ash-shaytanu ya'idukum al-faqra wa ya'murukum bil-fahsha, wallahu ya'idukum maghfiratan minhu wa fadla, wallahu wasi'un alim." Shaitan threatens you with poverty and orders you to immorality, while Allah promises you forgiveness from Him and bounty, and Allah is all-encompassing and knowing. So shaitan, one of the tricks that he plays is he comes to a person and threatens them with poverty. Now we normally understand this to mean poverty of money. That if it's time for me to go donate, that shaitan will come and say that you're going to miss out on paying this bill or making that payment or whatever the case may be. But shaitan comes to a person with poverty with much more than just wealth. He comes to a person with their time. Right? That if I volunteer my time, it's going to have a trade-off, it's zero sum. And so in this way, shaitan comes to people in different ways, and this is what's called a scarcity mindset. On the other hand, there's what's called, now when we say bounty, we can say it's what's termed now an abundance mindset, what we would say is a barakah mindset, which is a person does things for the right reasons, and they notice the outcome of that. And so you have people who even don't believe in Allah at all, right? They deny the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they will write in their finance books that when you donate, you get more back. We can't explain why, but we've just noticed that. At a business level, entrepreneurs say now that if you just focus on adding value to your customer and serving your customer, that you get more returns in the long run. They're not able to mathematically quantify exactly why that happens, but they've just noticed that if you add value and do things for the right reason, that it comes back to you. And they attribute this similarly to when something happens with the weather, they say Mother Nature, because they don't want to just outright acknowledge that God controls the weather, so the Mother Nature controls it. Right? In the same way that they notice this positive effect, this blessing that has taken place, they say it's karma, it's serendipity, it's putting good things in the universe and the universe rewards you. They have noticed the effect, they've observed the effect, but they don't know what it's called. We know that it's called barakah, we know that it's called blessing. We know that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts blessing in something, that it multiplies, that it goes further than we can imagine. It's why people, when you look at volunteer organizations, they're run on the backs of 3, 4, 5 people. And those 3, 4, 5 people are able to juggle a family and a full-time job and a business and their own studies and all these things, and they still have time to volunteer. The people that donate, they notice that they get more and more back. Right? And it's not just your time and your money, but even think about your intellect. I had someone ask me once, they said, my son wants to memorize Quran. I said, that's great. He goes, I'm not so sure. I said, why not? He goes, well, right now he's 12 years old, he's learning all this stuff in school that's going to be really important throughout his life, all this math, science, all these life skills. And he goes, I'm worried that his mind is like a hard drive. The more the Quran comes in, the more these other things will be displaced. And I know the Quran is more important, but I don't want him to lose out on all these other things, right? It's zero sum. It's a fixed amount. To gain one thing automatically means to lose another. And I said, why don't you look at it from a different mindset? That if he memorizes the Quran, maybe his intellectual capacity will expand so much that he'll both memorize the Quran and excel in the other subjects way beyond his peers. So why don't think about it that way? Right? That's the mindset of understanding that Allah gives bounty. Allah puts barakah in different things. Now when shaitan comes to us and he tests us with this, it comes in different ways. It might be something as simple as, I don't want to take time off from work to pray Jum'ah. I don't want to upset my boss. I don't want to lose out on the fact that I might get a raise. It might be a college student who, in his time to pray Maghrib in an evening class, What their mind does, they go through gymnastics. They say, well, if I miss Maghrib, I miss 5 minutes of class. There might be something important. I might miss something that's going to be on the test. If I get a bad test score, well, then my GPA is going to be low. If my GPA is low, I'm not going to get a good job when I graduate. If I don't get a good job when I graduate, I start out behind everybody else. If I start out behind everyone else, I'm never going to progress. And Allah wants me to be successful. He doesn't want me to fail, so I'm going to skip Maghrib today. Right? We go through this extreme reach to the worst possible conclusion because of the way that shaitan threatens us with poverty. Take another example at work. We might have a really great idea for something at work, and we don't want to suggest it to our manager because we're afraid that if we give up this idea, this great idea that we have, our manager is going to take it and take credit for it. And if they take credit for it, it's going to come at my loss. And they're going to get promoted, these good things are going to happen to them, and I'm going to get nothing. Therefore, I need to be protective over this good idea that I have at work. And here's the way that shaitan comes at you. It's not just this poverty, the fear of the loss of that idea, but it's something deeper than that. A person becomes possessive of that one idea at work because shaitan actually convinces them that you only have one good idea in you. That if you lose this one, you're going to lose everything. As opposed to even having confidence in yourself, right? It does number on your self-esteem. Having confidence in your own ability and saying that I know that I can come up with more. Even if I lose this one, so what? I have confidence in my ability to do more. But shaitan even comes at a person's self-confidence with this mentality of poverty and scarcity. So this is one of the ways that shaitan comes to us. Now what about what Allah promises in the Quran? One thing that's very interesting is that there's an ayah of the Quran, and we all know this ayah, that the true believer is the one that supplicates, رَبِّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Right, that the true believer is the one that supplicates for success of this life and the akhirah. We normally as a community discuss it as if it's a pie of pizza. That every increase in akhirah trades, if we take one slice of akhirah, we lose one slice of dunya, and vice versa. Right? That there's always going to be some type of inherent trade-off. The more successful we are in one, the more that we have to decrease in the other. That is zero sum. But the Quran teaches us a different mindset. It actually says to be ambitious in both. Seek the pinnacle of your success in the dunya and seek the success of pinnacle in the akhirah. Let's break that down to a very simple example. For those of us that are parents, when your kid comes to you and says, should I take an honors class and make a B, or should I take a regular class and make an A? What have they done? There's a trade-off. They've said that there's only two options and I have to pick between these two. But what does the parent say? Take the honors class and make an A. Right? Do both. Have some confidence in your ability. Have some tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you do your best and you get rewarded. That's the ultimate outcome of this abundance mindset. And we find this from the Sahaba so many times. There's a famous example of Uthman radiallahu anh. When he went and he bought a well and he made it a waqf for the Muslims so that they could drink from the well. And a companion came and he tried to buy it from him. And he said, I'll give you like 5 times the amount that you paid. And Uthman said no. And he got upset. He's like, from a business perspective, this is a great deal. 5 times ROI. You're never going to get that. And Uthman says, why should I give it for a small sum when I have a Lord that rewards abundantly, exponentially, without measure? Right? That abundance mentality that he had was to stay focused on that long term. Now, I told you this was about leadership. How does this translate into leadership? Well, one thing that I'll share with you very quickly, if we look at these types of mindsets, you see a poverty mindset, what happens? A poverty mindset, if everything is at a trade-off, it means that if my coworker gets promoted, I feel that it was at my expense, it was at my loss. And so a person who's operating with this whispering of shaitan in them, they might not even realize it. But you'll notice this around you at work. You'll notice people who are afraid to give credit to other people. They're afraid to share the spotlight with other people. They're constantly trying to cling on to their position. And this leads to them doing things like micromanaging other people, right? Making life difficult for other people. An abundance mentality, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. It's people who willingly share credit, no matter what the position. It's people who help lift others up, no matter what happens. And tangibly, that breaks down to things like, I like working with this person, I don't like working with that person. A lot of that comes down to the filter and the lens by which we view the world around us. How we respond to hardships, how we respond to difficulty. If we're coming from a scarcity mindset, this poverty mindset that shaitan puts in us, it becomes easier to give up. It becomes easier to not see hope in any type of situation. And yet we know that a Muslim, the default is to be optimistic. Not wildly naive, but the default should be optimistic. And to be optimistic means that a person is always able to respond to a hardship by looking and seeing what blessing there might be, what other thing may have been averted, and trying to look for the good in every situation. This is why the Prophet ﷺ said that how wondrous is the affair of the believer, that everything that happens, even the prick of a thorn, there's good in it for them. Right? But it takes a certain mindset to be able to look at that. So this is one of the things that comes with learning prophetic leadership, is simply the mindset that a person has to have in understanding that we do our part, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts blessing in things and it goes beyond measure, beyond what we can control. So inshallah, I'll give it to Brother Muhammad. He will talk about how to tangibly implement barakah in our lives.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wassalam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Jazakumullah khair for inviting us to this masjid, inshallah ta'ala. So I'll be speaking more on the productivity side. So Omar mashallah is kind of like expert on the leadership side. I'm more on the productivity side. If I were to ask you, what is productivity? If you were to define productivity, what is productivity? What comes to mind? Just anything comes to your mind, please. What is productivity? Yes, please. Getting more done. Somebody else. Efficiency. Somebody else. Yep. Anybody else? One more. Sorry? Creating something, getting something done. Okay. I'll give you a definition of productivity that will be easier to understand by everybody. If you were to ask yourself what is productivity, there's two ways of explaining it. The first one is saying you get more output for the input you have. For example, if I were to go to work today and I produced 5 reports, okay, or 5 widgets or something, and tomorrow, in that same workday or different workday, I produce only 2 reports. So that second day, I'm less productive than the first day. That's a very simple definition. But another way of looking at it, productivity is more about the choices you make every day. The choices you make with how you spend your time, how you spend your energy, and how you spend your focus so that you can get things done. Every day I go to work, and how I spend my time. Do I spend my time clicking on Facebook? Or do I spend my time actually getting work done? Do I spend my time answering emails? Or do I spend my time making calls? Do I spend my time, how do I spend my energy? Do I sleep properly so that I have enough energy in the first place? For example, did I eat properly? Do I exercise properly so I have enough energy so that I can execute things, get things done? And how am I managing my focus? Am I focusing on the right things at the right time? So energy, focus, and time, that's what makes you productive. How you manage your energy, how you manage your focus, how you manage your time. Now, how does this tie into this concept of barakah? Think about these 3, energy, focus, and time. Every day you can make choices with all of these. You can make choices with your energy, how much to sleep, how much to eat, what to exercise, choices with your focus, and choices with your time. But ultimately, the outcome, the results, that you could do all of those 3 things, but somehow still not get enough done. Or working really hard, putting all the energy, putting all the focus, putting all the time, but the outcome does not really match the input, or it just barely matches the input. But with the barakah effect, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts barakah in your energy, in your focus, in your time, you achieve much, much more than what you expect. Just think about the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In 23 years, he achieved what no man could achieve in 100 years. Just think about the amount of time, just 23 years, he achieved what no man could achieve in 100 years. And that by itself is testimony to this concept of barakah. Barakah not in a, sometimes when we think of barakah, we think of just about barakah in our time or barakah in our money, i.e. we can do more with our time or could do more with our money. But barakah can also mean something that is continuous. For example, you might start a small project that is still continuing and helping people and benefiting people. Or you have a small idea in the work that is still continuing. That's barakah. Barakah can also mean stability. For example, barakah in your marriage is stable. Barakah with the children, relationship is stable, for example. That's also barakah. Barakah does not only have to mean increase or wealth or improving in time. So when you think about it from that perspective, then is the question is, well, how do I get barakah? How can I get this barakah effect in my energy, in my focus, in my time? Now, we've done some work along these lines, and we did some research. There's an article online, if you go Google it, called 18 Sources of Barakah, where we looked at verses of the Quran and the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all referring to acts of worship or concepts that boost barakah. I'm going to share a few of them with you. The first one is istikhara prayer. A lot of us, when we think of istikhara prayer, we think about it in a very, how can I put it, personal basis. Istikhara when it comes to marriage, or business, or promotion, or changing careers. Very personal issues. How many of us pray istikhara on a professional decision you have to make at work? How many of us pray istikhara on, for example, choices that are not just personal, but it will affect others? I was once met with this person who runs an investment fund. And she actually is a lady who runs a multi-billion investment fund. Very, very wealthy. And I asked her, do you ever pray istikhara before making these investment decisions? And it's like, never crossed. And this person wears hijab, prays 5 times a day. But she never crossed her mind to pray istikhara before something to do with work. It just never crossed their mind. And mashallah, she's doing really well. I'm like, imagine if you pray istikhara, imagine by praying istikhara and taking mashura and getting them the barakah of the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that you will never, a person who makes mashura and prays istikhara will never regret their decisions. Just that barakah. You go to work with that barakah, hiring decisions, firing decisions, what to do at work, praying istikhara being a concept that you take with you to the workplace and really having barakah impact at your workplace. Another example, another source of barakah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Burika li ummati fi bukuriha." Oh, the early hours are blessed for my nation. All of us probably heard about this idea that waking up early helps make me more productive. I mean, it's funny when you read all these productivity books, these super guru books, people who are experts, the leaders of organizations, CEOs of multi-billion-dollar companies, they'll tell you, we wake up 4:30 in the morning. We wake up 5:30 in the morning. Literally, ask each one of them. Tim Cook, 4:30 in the morning. I don't know, was it that guy named the PayPal guy? Peter Thiel, 3 o'clock in the morning. Elon Musk, 4 o'clock in the morning. And these guys don't have to pray Tahajjud or Fajr. And they still wake up 4 or 5 in the morning. And they're getting the barakah in the fact the time. That's their early hours of blessed. They get so much work done. Ask the Muslim, where are they? If they're good, they pray Fajr and go back to sleep. Right? Start your day from the early hours. Start your day and see that barakah in the early hours. You'll beat the rush hour traffic. You'll get there early. You'll get more work done and you come back home early. And you'll feel that, man, I got so much done today just by starting my day early. If we take this concept barakah, we approach our productivity, we approach our professional work, we approach our workplace from the concept of how can I get more barakah? What should I tap into to increase my barakah? When it comes to example, mid-morning break, I have 2 choices. I can go drink coffee and tea, or I can pray 2 rak'ah duha prayer. Just 2 rak'ah duha prayer. And you get barakah in those early hours, mid-morning break. And again, you're seeking from that act of worship the bounties of the dunya and the akhirah because asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the Kareem. So all these concepts put together, when we stop compartmentalizing our faith, we think faith is what happens at home in the masjid and work is what happens at work. We kind of turn off our Islam and go to work. When we stop doing that and start integrating our faith into our workplaces, into our everyday life, that's when we see the barakah effect and that multiply effect. You then, whenever you learn how to manage your energy, your focus and time, it's about multiplying that tenfold, inshallah ta'ala. So now the question is, well, there are these sources of barakah. How do I organize my day along those lines? What are these sources of barakah? These and more, inshallah ta'ala, that's what me and Omar are here, inshallah ta'ala. We want to explore this further. We want to take a step deeper than just, what we know of. We heard it. Most of you heard this many, many times. But how many of us connected this to our workplaces, connected this to our businesses, connected this idea of barakah to our families, to our social concerns and our workplaces? That's what we want to explore. So inshallah ta'ala, I'm really, really excited that inshallah on Saturday, that me and Umar are holding a 1-day workshop, a full-day workshop with exercises, with practical tips on how to bring this barakah effect into the workplace. And how to really, in a very practical way, not just tangible and intangible, or just just words that we kind of hear and get excited about, but where you sit down and you write your routine and say, okay, from this I'll do this, and how you build in the barakah concepts into your workplaces. So inshallah ta'ala, I hope all of you, and especially those professionals, we're targeting professionals because professionals need the most. All of us professionals, we need this the most. We kind of go to the workplace and we kind of forget our spirituality. We don't realize that our spirituality is our greatest asset when it comes to our productivity, when it comes to boosting our productivity and boosting our leadership, inshallah ta'ala. So inshallah, this event will be on Saturday. We'll be at the Westin DFW Airport Hotel for a one-day workshop. And inshallah, if you want more information, you can get it from myself, Omar. We're here. Again, jazakumullah khair for your time and spending time with us. I don't know if you have any questions at this stage. You want to ask about productivity leadership, more than happy to answer, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, then subhanak Allahumma hamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.